you want to know how I managed to secure almost 9 out of 10 of my clients at any given point? And I'll tell you, it's not showboating and giving them all the praise. It's being consistent. If you're tired of the old cookie-cutter marketing advice and want to take your personal brand to the next level with bold, actionable strategies that truly reflect you, you're in the right place. Let's untangle your marketing mayhem with Zoe, the video confidence coach, on the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Unboring Your Brand was recorded on Wadawurrung land. Why is consistency the secret to marketing success? Now, as you can imagine, this entire podcast episode is about consistency, so it's not exactly a secret. But I want to break down this idea of this nebulous cloud of consistency, especially when it comes to your marketing, because you get told this by gurus, but also by people who are regulars or experts in marketing. Consistency, consistency, consistency. That is what a lot of people, especially in this space, talk about. But I want to be able to break down this thing that we all know that we should be doing when it comes to our brands, but somehow life, procrastination, and everything else always gets in the way. But here's the deal. If you want your personal brand or your small business to actually work, to actually grow, for people to see and recognize that you show up consistently for them and to serve them, you need to be regular, you need to be reliable, and you need to show that you are a friend that always brings snacks. And the snacks being, good service and all the work that you do in your business. And that's why consistency matters. It's not about always being there and, well, yes, it is in a way. What I mean by this is consistency is about building trust. And for your business or your brand to work, people need to trust you. Strangers need to trust you. Strangers need to see that you are there to answer their questions, to help them get over the hurdle, to fix their problem, to be the solution, and to build that trust. And for them to eventually give you money, hopefully. You need to be able to be seen doing that same thing over and over and over and over again. If you are showing up once in a blue moon, people are going to A, forget about you because you go, whoop, yep, they've lost you. Or you're not going to stick in people's minds. So when they do, maybe the people that you work with or your target audience don't necessarily have this problem all the time. Like, it's not a constant burden on their life. But when it is a burden in their life, they need to know who to turn to. And who they turn to is you, if they can remember that you exist. So to do that, you need to be always up the arse of your audience. I know that sounds a bit childish for me to say, but you need to be consistent and also just be there. Now, yes, you can do this in many different ways. And of course, I'll get into that in the rest of this podcast episode. But your audience needs to know what to expect. And when they need to know what to expect of you, you need to be the one showing up every day. Or at least consistently enough that they understand what you're on about and who you work for. So then they can A, recommend you to other people, but also not just that. Not just the word of mouth, because even though that is a popular way of marketing people. So word of mouth is when friends, family, or colleagues mention your brand or your business to people who are your target market. Why? Because they remember you and they trust you. And why do they do that? Say it with me now. Consistency. So for an audience to know what to expect. Thank you for that tangent, everyone. Well done. All right, everyone sit down. We'll get back to driving if that's what you're doing. Your audience needs to know what to expect. And if one day you're sharing deep business insights in a long form method, like be it a live stream or a podcast or what have you, but then the next that you're posting cat memes, unless your brand is a cat, fair enough. But like, if that's unclear or the connection is very tenuous, people are going to get confused. Because remember, we as a society are bombarded with messages, with ideas, with thoughts, with colors every single day. And for you to stand out, again, to get people on board and to be that level of, to build that level of trust, you need to, what feels like, appease the algorithm gods. LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. These algorithm gods love consistency. They reward accounts by showing up regularly and by giving them more reach and visibility. Now, of course, as I like to say with everyone who is listening and watching the podcast today, social media should not be your only marketing strategy. But I understand if it is when you first start out, or it just ends up being the thing that you think of most because it is so in your face. And for a lot of people who rely heavily on social media, it's because you use the platform regularly. So I'm not condemning you for that. All I'm saying is that when it comes to those algorithms, we've moved from a subscribe follower mentality when it comes to these social media platforms to an algorithmic one. So essentially, instead of people coming across you, liking you, trusting you, hitting subscribe or follow, and seeing more of your stuff, that is no longer the case. It has moved to what is known as a TikTok algorithm, where the robots, the algorithm, feeds the people what they think they want to see. And for you to make sure that you are there consistently and reminding people that you exist, you need to both appease the people who you want to gain their trust, but also the algorithm. The algorithm is a lot more nebulous. The people who even built the things don't even know how they work. So start off simple, start off easy by making things consistent for yourself. And let's start off with how you actually do that without losing your mind. Number one, you pick a schedule that you can actually stick to. So for Angie, for Marie, and for Sandra, I'm talking to you out of love and respect, but also for everyone else, making sure that you pick a schedule that you can realistically stick to is key. Now, I'm not talking just social media. I'm talking about being able to both record your videos, podcast messages, however you want to do this. And again, you can always check out other episodes of the Unboring Your Brand podcast to actually break down your ideas of what exactly you want to do and how you want to start marketing yourself. Today, we're just talking about consistency in general, just to give you some ideas. But instead of, say, posting every day because my competition does this, or posting every day because it just sounds good in your head, by the time that you hit day 3 or 4, you're going to lose so much momentum and you're going to realize that you have no content left because you're tired. By that point, you're probably grumpy and aggressive. But also there is just so much effort for not a lot of reach and kickback, because when it comes to the social media algorithms, 1 to 2 posts is not going to be enough to be consistent. And when it comes to email newsletters, or when it comes to updating things on your website, or regularly creating ways of messaging content with your audience through, say, YouTube or podcasting, you don't build an audience overnight. That's why consistency is important. Building that trust is important. Because if you are building it, it's not necessarily a build it and they will come mentality. It's more of a things are going to have to constantly be built on over time. You're going to get better as both a communicator to be able to communicate your message, but also have a much better idea of who exactly you're talking to, because you will get feedback. So instead of having a post every day mentality and the quality going, instead of the quality going down, maybe instead try and commit to a more sustainable schedule that fits within your lifestyle. Maybe it's 3 times a week with 1 video a fortnight, because videos are harder to create, but also it makes it more doable for you. I've been working with Sandra, who is a cleaner down here in the Geelong and the Bellarine. Brushed clean, make sure you check her out. And the way that we were able to make the video process work for her, and the way that she worked, was we made sure that she was able to access tools. So this was lighting, microphones, and a tripod for her mobile phone setup that she was able to carry around in her caddy, her toolbox essentially, with all her cleaning supplies. The tools needed to be light enough that she'd be able to get her phone out, set things up in realistically less than 30 seconds, and start recording. And then that footage being saved in the cloud, being saved somewhere other than her phone. So if her phone got damaged or anything, she still had the footage. But she can also use that later on. Why? Because she's able to stick to a regular schedule if things are easier for you, which we'll get to later on in this list. But when it comes to finding an easy schedule, my recommendation is, where is your bare effing minimum? And I'm sure fans of the podcast have already heard my podcast episode about this, but also have heard this multiple times from me. What is the easiest thing that you think that you can do? Halve that and think, okay, I can post once a week. Oh, that's easy, Zoe. I already do that. Cool. Can you do it 2 times a week? Yeah, I think I can do that. It's relatively easy. I can talk about whatever. Awesome. Whatever is easier, and then once you get that consistency going for yourself, you'll be able to then post 2 times, maybe even 3 times a week. Again, whatever is easy for you in the moment. And you can also rely on using older and repurposing older content as well, just changing the description or maybe slightly tweaking the edit a little bit, which again, we will get into in the upcoming posts in this list. So I'm getting ahead of myself here, Zoe. So again, making sure that you have a schedule that you can stick to. Number 2, batch your content like a pro. So instead of creating one-off either videos or messages or taking a photo here and there and having to do all this work in like the little small grabs of your day, being able to set aside maybe an hour or 2 a week. And for most of us, marketing is our hobby in our business or our brand. So maybe after hours, being able to create multiple posts, videos, or emails in one go stops you from scrambling around at the last minute, but also enables you to actually spend some time thinking about what you're going to do and do it in that one chunk of time. What I worked with a couple of people over these past couple of weeks is having a method of, when you think of an idea, writing it down, putting it in your notes app, putting it in a program like Notion or Evernote, which is almost like a personalized wiki. Wherever you are going to find this information later, that's where you put it. Something like a notebook is usually quite useful. And that tool, that list, is what you're going to look at in that hour or 2 where you're going to sit down and batch some content. So for example, you're going to set maybe a couple of hours, maybe on, say, a Friday afternoon, or maybe whenever your quietest time is. Maybe try doing that. And this can be once a week. This can be once a month. If it's once a month, I'd give yourself a couple more hours, just FYI. But if it's something that you can do, say, once a week or once a fortnight, that might be easier. And this will allow you to both write, record, and schedule everything, so you don't have to think about doing things last minute. You can look at the notes that your brain's already started thinking. You say, thank you, past me. It's very rare for you to actually say that to yourself, but thank you, past me, for coming up with these ideas. They're easy things that I can film, that I can record, that I can do everything, and it will be done. It's not just you scrambling at the last minute. It will be done because you've made time for it. And if it's not a priority, which does happen to me sometimes, I have a tendency of moving my batching time because I want to work, not that I want to, well, a little bit. I would prefer to work on client work and making sure that they get the most out of what of my brain power and my work. But I have gotten to a regular rhythm of taking time, a couple of hours on a Friday afternoon. No one is emailing me, no one is doing anything. And that gives me time to batch a bunch of content, not just for my own email, newsletter, social media, website, not just that, but it allows me to think of things ahead of time. So when I actually do sit down and do the work, I can do it in less time and taking up less energy. As I mentioned before, number 3, repurposing so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Because turning one video message that you have into a blog, into a podcast, into a series of social media posts, or even into an email newsletter is going to be a lot easier than you trying to think of things on the fly and coming up with things from scratch every single time. Why? Because you have the same messages that you're going to be repeating over and over and over and over again until you're sick of it. They're not going to be sick of it. Your audience is not going to be sick of it. You are, they're not. And even though those messages may become quite boring for you, I'm going to tell you now that with the algorithms and with people, opening their emails, slightly less nowadays, but there's less chance that people are going to get every single message from you. I'm going to tell you now that it's going to be incredibly rare for everyone to get every single message from you, which is why repeating your old posts that did well in the past and giving them a fresh spin by maybe changing the description or maybe slightly changing the video or slightly changing maybe the hook, which is the first 3 to 5 seconds of the video, whatever is going to catch their interest. If you want to try changing that up, it's a lot easier because you've already done all the work and you're doing it again to save yourself time and energy. You don't need to be original every time because people aren't going to see your originality every single time. Because you just need to be there. Why? Because we are being consistent. So to be consistent, you need to be there. And if that does mean using older content again, sure. I've used one popular video of mine 8, 9 times. Why? Because it worked really well. Every time I get, every now and again, I get people seeing it and I'm like, woo. So much work that I didn't have to do and people are seeing and responding and giving me feedback. And that's what I want and that's what I need. And hopefully that's what you get too. 4th thing on my list of making things easy for you to stay consistent is being consistent stupidly easy for yourself. Can you use scheduling tools? So these are specifically for social media, but also email newsletters or even scheduling videos on YouTube. You can use, for social media, you can use Meta Business Suite, Buffer, Hootsuite, Later with 2 R's. There are plenty of other tools like that. If you do have a fairly robust CRM, customer relationship management tool, check if they've got a social media scheduler in there. I'm going to tell you now, I have, there's been like 3 people over the past month where I've mentioned this to them and they go, I'll check mine. Zoe, I found out that my CRM can do this. It's like, awesome, you're already paying for it. So do that. So a social media scheduling tool allows you in those couple of hours a month, couple of hours a week, whatever you're planning to do, allows you to schedule things so you don't have to post on every single platform as soon as you post it live, and also allows you to not think about, it allows you to put the message out there again and repeat stuff again in the future because you don't need to think about it. You can also make it a lot easier for yourself by creating templates of either your graphics or your captions or the types of emails that you use. So you don't have to start from scratch every time. A tool that you can use for this is something like Canva, which is essentially an online PowerPoint tool up to 1,000. But essentially what it does is it allows you to create templates of your content relatively easily. So all you have to do is have the idea, spend like couple of taps on the keyboard, and there you go. You've created a new piece of content with your new message without having to create absolutely everything from scratch. Because that's the issue. You're making it harder for yourself by not relying on templates. And say, for example, if you want to change things up, that is your prerogative. That is what you can do. And do you have the power to do that? Why? Because it's your marketing. And in the event that you come up with a cool idea that you haven't got a template for, maybe investing some time on putting it out there, seeing what the audience feedback is. And this audience is also your current clients and potential clients as well, and also their family and friends and colleagues. See what type of feedback you get from it. If you don't get a lot of feedback from it, it might be just an idea that'll have to stay with you in your heart. But if you get a lot of feedback from it, make a template of it and just use it again. Keep the content ideas in your phone, like I mentioned in that list, or a notepad. So when inspiration hits, usually at the worst times, but whenever it does hit, you can put it in your notes. Future you will thank you, and you don't need to start thinking from scratch. You don't need to rely on your brain to do the memory holding of these and thinking of these ideas, because your brain should be the one making the ideas, or generating the ideas, I should say, and not saving them. And one of the last things I want to touch on for this list, as I sweat out the mufflers, is stop overthinking and just post. My business coach has a regular tactic of telling me, Zoe, just do it. Shut up and do it. Your content doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. And for a lot of people like myself, my perfectionism lies very much, my procrastination very much lies in my perfectionism. I want things to be perfect. I want to be able to serve my customers to the best of my ability. And usually that means putting brick walls and hurdles in front of myself from stopping myself to be able to reach out and help and serve the people that I need to. What do I have to say? I've got a list of things to say, as I usually do. But I put roadblocks in front of it, which I shouldn't be doing because I help other people do the same to take down those roadblocks. No one is going to remember a slightly awkward Instagram story, or no one's going to remember a slightly off-kilter post. What they will remember is that you disappeared for 6 months. That when they were scrolling on their feed as they were calming down from work or maybe a family get together or what have you, and they're scrolling on their phone and they don't see you. And they wonder where you've gone. They don't remember your name, but they remember what you look like. They remember the messages you were giving them. And when people outside of your influence go in to check you out on social media, on your email list, on your website or your YouTube, they see the last time that you posted. They see the last message that you sent. And if it's more than a month, people get worried. Are you still in business? Are you still able to help me solve my problem? And if the answer is yes, then you need to be there. And if the answer is no, then that's okay. You can just let it go. Building a personal brand isn't about going viral once. It's about being the go-to person in your space. And that only happens if you keep showing up. And if you keep being consistent, you will be there. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be right. You are just there. So let's make a deal. Don't worry, just you and me. Let's pick a schedule and try and stick to it and actually hit post. Your future self, your business, your brand, and your audience will thank you. So what I'm going to ask you to do is pick a time, maybe in a week from now or even 2 weeks from now, depending on how busy you are as you're listening or watching this, and say, I'm going to put a email newsletter together. I'm going to do a 30-second video. Again, whatever is the easiest thing for you to do, and say, by this point next week, it's going to be done. It doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't even have to be good. Just has to be done. And while you're at it, especially when you're on your phone, you're going to go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts and give me 5 stars. Also, if you don't like the podcast, you can always just let me know that in the comments or in the reviews as well. I'd love to know so I can better improve and hopefully be more consistent for you. Thank you for listening or watching Unboring Your Brand. You can find detailed show notes with tools, offers, and episode transcriptions. Just click the first link in the description or go to vcc.training/podcast. Get involved and ask me anything about personal branding, video strategy, or just a friendly small business chat via my email, g'day@vcc.training. That is gday@vcc.training. The Video Confidence Coach would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I record my podcast. I pay my respects to their elders past and present. I stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Look forward to me chatting at you next week, superstars.